So, starting off with the first tip that I wanted to share, textbooks. Yes. So, in social studies, textbooks are your go to guides for anything. It doesn't matter if it's economics or history, whatever it is, please refer to your textbook. Now, I know there are lots of sort of content based books, guidebooks, extra history books which share history content. I'm not talking about question banks or practice questions, just the content itself, which I have once sort of considered when I was a very confused 10th grader. But with experience, I can say that NCRT textbooks are your most important resource that is required for SST. It's always better to learn less but right content than like lots and lots of content that which won't even be tested. So always stick to the prescribed CBSE prescribed NCRT textbooks. Tip number 2 is particularly for history. Please learn the names in NCRT textbook, in all like the NCRT textbook, all the important names, and specifically the images and paintings such as this of Bharat Mata and even this of Bharat Mata. So you also have to remember the meaning of different symbols which are often given in these boxes below the image. A lot of times, I don't exactly remember if this came up in boards, but a lot of times in my internal school exams, we often had such as pictures of Germania and all these different pictures asking us to sort of elaborate on the different symbols used in these pictures. So make sure you know what they mean. They always can sort of come up in the exams, so the meaning of all these are very important. So this next tip is specifically for geography. Now there are lots of names of different places that are very similar and can get quite hard to remember. Like I've sort of faced those challenges as well, which is why I really wanted to share these tips. Now, this includes like names of these sort of major seaports that you see here, highways, the places they connect, and all of that. And the best way to learn them is to be consistent from the very beginning. So I remember something very interesting. I used to actually go through one set of list at least every time I traveled in my school bus. So, for example, if there was like 12 seaports in the textbook, I would literally open and quickly go through them. And then I would just look out of the bus window, for example, and try recalling that list in the exact same order. Now, this helps sort of ensure that I remember the entire list in the same order and do not miss out on anything. And I would do this for random lists every single day when I travel in the bus. It literally takes 10 minutes or so, and you can easily take the time out of your day, maybe when having breakfast or traveling to school, and it will surely help you in the long run. So, tip number 4 is writing down question and answers in your textbook. Sorry, in your notebook. Now, I'm not sure about all schools, but I do feel that most of our teachers share lots of previous year questions and important questions and the model answers for them. For example, when France sneezes, the rest of Europe catches cold is a famous statement which could be asked to maybe elaborate or explain on the basis of, let's say, the July Revolution and how it impacted Europe. So these are very sort of basic lines that you commonly see in the textbook that have a lot of meaning behind them, a lot of maybe events that have occurred which has led to that statement. So they could use that statement to prompt you to explain that event. So you need to know which statement is sort of matches that particular event. So that sort of presence of mind should be there during the exam, which will only come if you practice question and answers. So this helps to ensure that you are aware of predictable important questions. So yeah, please make answers for them, learn those answers, and it'll definitely save your time and energy when preparing for your board exams. So, tip 5 is for political science. Now, a very organized way of learning these millions of points in the textbook is to sort of organize them into different headings. Now, in let's say this chapter called power sharing, there is a particular heading called forms of power sharing, which has 4 numbered points, right? Now, the first thing you need to focus on is the beginning sentences of each part. So, let's say the first is power shared among different organs of the government, such as legislature, executive, and judiciary, and all of that. It's important to remember these first few initial sentences in such points, usually, because later you have more of an explanation of these. Which you can sort of make out if you know the first few lines. So, at least learn these by heart, and even if you forget the rest, you can write them in your own words if you have a basic idea of this point. So, yeah, try to sort of keep that in mind. And even for example, I think the topic of challenges of political parties, I believe. In the challenges to political parties, we have different points here. So these are given in paragraph forms. Just take a few seconds to sort of annotate your textbook and number them to form a clear mental image of the writing points and the order in which you need to learn them to make it more easier for you to remember during the exam. Tip for economics, very simple. Please read inside these yellow boxes like these. There'll also be different blue boxes, maybe even the summing up bits. So just learn or read through all these little boxes that you have, such as here Ford Motors. This was a very important board question about Ford Motors. So just because this was there in like a blue box and not in the main area, please don't avoid it. Make sure you learn them. They might seem like random information and activities, but you never know. Questions and MCQs can always come from them. Okay, so now that I've spoken about how to learn the content itself and how to prepare, I'm now going to share my ways of improving your paper presentation for social studies. Now, different teachers will have different opinions about this, but I've always written majority of my answers, especially for social studies, in points. Even if there are sub points within a point, I would differentiate them. There should be sort of like a visual organization of your answer, and this allows a good impression on your examiner. When it comes to maps, please always make a legend with the symbols you use and what it means, and make sure you present the map neatly. Don't panic during the exam. The maps carry good amount of marks, which you can get very easily if you're focused. Always leave a good amount of space between your answers to create a visual differentiation. This ensures that there are no errors when awarding marks. For me, my social studies exam always will be special and memorable because it was my first ever board exam. When I was in 10th, SST was like the first paper we wrote. So that's why I will remember how stressful it was. But I've made it through, and now I'm in uni, and so will you. So make sure to just stay prepared and believe in yourself, and everything will go well. My prayers and wishes are with all of you. Let me know what your favorite tip was in the comments below.